Hey, this is Leslie. I have a word for you that I want to share. And just a disclaimer, I am sick, so if I start coughing and carrying on, you will know why. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. I was listening to a word from my fellow sister in Christ, Bold for Christ, Christina. You may also call her Nina. And I'm going to link the word below. And it's kind of an older word, not old, really. It was from a month ago. She puts out a lot of words, but I'm going to link it below. But basically, the part of the word that really stuck out to me, the whole word was great, but the part that stuck out to me that God started speaking to me about was when she started talking about David, Uriah, and Bathsheba. And if you don't know the story, Uriah was married to Bathsheba. He was one of the men in David's army. He was one of his officers, and David ended up having him killed to hide the fact that he had slept with Uriah's wife, Bathsheba. But before I get into that, what God was telling me as I was listening was that many of us, many of you, many of us have been crying out to God, asking God, like, when are you going to get them, God? The people who did you wrong, the people who came up against you, when are you going to get them? What's happening, God? What are we waiting on, God? Like, get them now. You know what they did. You saw what they did. And God is saying that there is so much more that you should be concerned about besides who's going to get who and when I'm going to get them. Like, here's the thing about it. Whether you realize it or not, in this story, Uriah ended up dead, okay? He was murdered, okay? David had him murdered. He plotted his death. He plotted this man's murder to hide his own sin of sleeping with Bathsheba and then getting her pregnant, okay? But here's the thing about it. God is going to avenge you, okay? He says that vengeance is his. He says that it's up to him to repay, not you. He avenged Uriah's death, an innocent man, okay? He was innocent. He was an army of David's, he was an army. He was a officer of David's army, and he was loyal to David, okay? To the point that he came, when they came back from the war, he wasn't even trying to go to his wife's house. To his own home to sleep with his wife. He was like, no, I'm still serving you, David. And here's the kicker. David wasn't even where he was supposed to be. See, first of all, a lot of the sins and the things that we go through or that happen to us in life is because we are out of position. We are out of alignment. David was never supposed to be back chilling at the crib, okay? He was not supposed to be at home. He was supposed to be with the other officers, fighting. He was supposed to be at war. A king is supposed to be at the war, not at home chilling while everybody else is at the war, at the battle, fighting for him. See, but because he was out of position, because he was out of alignment, not following what his role and his mandate was, his assignment was, instead, he's up on the roof looking over at Bathsheba while she's taking a bath. Now, she's up on the roof taking a bath, and it doesn't matter where she was. He was in the wrong because he shouldn't have been over there looking at her. Everybody else, all the other men are gone, including her husband, are gone to war. But you sitting up here on the roof looking over there at this woman, lustfully, lusting after her. And so you send some people, I'm talking to David, right? So you send some people over there to collect her so that you can sleep with her. You allowed your flesh to rise up in the first place. You were being disobedient in the first place because you weren't where you're supposed to be. But then you allowed your flesh to rise up and you want to sit over here and you want to have sex with somebody else's wife, while this man is at the battlefield fighting for you, fighting on your behalf. Okay. God says, if I would avenge Uriah, a man who was murdered, he didn't have time. Uriah didn't have time to say, get him, God. You see what happened to me, avenge me. David was able to do that quite a bit when Saul was after him in the book of, in 2 Samuel and 1 Kings, 2 Kings, where go from 1 Kings down to, go from 1 Samuel on down to 2 Kings, and you'll read about different times when Saul was after King David, and even in the Psalms, okay, a lot of these Psalms are David crying out, his heart to God, saying, these people, this man is after me. Even his own son Absalom was after him at one point, trying to kill him and take his crown and his throne and everything like that. David had ample time to cry out to God, to say, God, help me. Uriah didn't have that, okay? And God still avenged Uriah. Uriah was innocent, and it's unfortunate how it went down, but God said, basically, he told me, basically, because David took my innocent son, I'm going to take his innocent son. Now, I know we don't like to think of it like that because it's a baby, and why would a holy God take the life of a baby? Because that's what ended up happening. He took the life of the child that was conceived in sin between Bathsheba and David. God is holy and God gets to do whatever he wants to do, whether we understand it or not. Maybe when we get to heaven, we'll understand some things a bit better. Well, not a bit better. We'll understand things in totality. But what you have to understand is that God has a right to do whatever he wants to do, however he wants to do it. He is the giver and taker of life. Okay. David did an egregious thing. He took this man's life. And it even says in I think it's I have to find it. Second Kings, is it 12? There's a place where basically it says, and I'll find it and put in the description, but the scripture basically says that, like, besides the fact that he killed Uriah, that he murdered Uriah, David did, pretty much everything that God asked him to. And if he didn't, he repented. He was a man after God's own heart. But this thing right here, when he killed Uriah, God was displeased with that. God did not like that, and God handled him according to what he had done. Now, it may not seem fair to you, or, oh, God could have just, like gave him a pat on the wrist or pat on the hand or whatever. Don't do it again, what have you. No, God had to deal with that thing. And sometimes God has to deal with a thing in such a way that you remember and that you won't do that thing ever again. And I believe that's exactly what God did. Now, they ended up having another baby after that, and that baby lived, and that baby was Solomon, who also became king. But God said he had to take that first child because of the sin. Okay, this baby was brought forth in iniquity. Okay, this baby, and I get it. We're all born into sin, but no, this child was born off the back of infidelity, adultery. And adultery is not just against, the man or the woman, the wife or the husband. It's against God. God told you that you are not supposed to put anything above him, including your own flesh, including your own lustful sexual desires. And because David did that, God decided that the punishment was going to be to take the baby's life. Okay. But getting back to what I'm trying to tell you is that if you think that God will not avenge you, he heard the blood of Uriah crying out. He knew what had happened to him, just like he heard the blood of Abel crying out after Cain, his own brother, had killed him. God is going to avenge you. God is going to take care of you. Whatever those people have done, whatever those people have said, don't even worry about it. And it's funny because I was laughing with same sister in Christ, Christina, Nina, Bold for Christ. And we were saying, like, we should be detectives. But you know what God told me? He was like, right now, I've told you to stand. That's what I've told a lot. That's what God has told a lot of us, to stand. He didn't tell me or anybody else to play detective, try to get to the bottom of any case or anything like that. And we meant it jokingly, but in the same right, God told me yesterday, he said, I didn't tell you to do that. I told you to stand and watch the goodness of God. Watch me fulfill my will. Watch me avenge. Watch me repay. Retribution is coming. Divine justice is coming because of me, not because of you. You stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. You be quiet. You sit down. God told me, I'm the one who's got the magnifying glass. I'm the one who's looking into this thing. I'm sending my angels to look into this thing. I'm taking care of this. I have my whole court that's looking down, that's been on the case. You don't have to be on the case. You are the plaintiff, okay? You are the victim, for lack of a better word, right? That I want to give the victory to. You're the one who's been mistreated. You're the one who I'm bringing victory and recompense to. You're the one I'm bringing divine retribution to, divine justice to. You need to not worry about looking into, you're not the lawyer. You not the lawyer. Jesus is the lawyer in the courtroom. You stand there with your mouth quiet and let your defender defend you. There's nothing for you to be looking into. Sit down somewhere. Just allow God to do what God does. Okay. You think that you can help him out. You think that you're going to show him what's been going on. God, look, you see this? Did you miss that guy? Did you do? No, he didn't miss any of it. He saw all of it. He said he's got his magnifying glass out. And I'm even thinking of right now, Sherlock Holmes. He was supposed to be like the number one detective, right, in England or whatever at the time, I don't know, the 1800s or whatever. You know who Sherlock Holmes is. God says, I'm much better than him. I'm brilliant. Sherlock Holmes was only able to do what he was able to do because I gave him the wherewithal. I gave him the intuition, the intelligence, and all of that. He didn't know what he was doing until I put that in him, okay? I gave him that gift. Well, my gift is much greater. My gift is much greater, and I will get to the bottom of this thing. I am on the case, says God. I don't need you to do nothing but sit down and let me get the victory. This is for my glory. What I'm doing for you, giving you justice, giving you recompense, giving you repayment. This is for my glory. Yeah, you're going to reap the benefits, but this is for my glory. Excuse me. This is about me. This is about people understanding that they need to come to me. This is about people understanding who I am, that I am a fearsome and a terrible God. Not you. You ain't God. Sit down somewhere. Okay. I, God has got this thing. And I'm going to keep reiterating this because it's like you're not the only one, whomever you are. You're not the only one who needs to hear this. I need to hear this. God has got this thing. He's going to take care of all of it. He's seen all of it. He understands and he knows all of it. He understands what you have been through. He is going to take care of you. Uriah's blood, Cain's blood, the blood of his saints, the blood of his innocents has cried out. It even talks about, I think in Revelation, where the blood of the slain is crying out from under his throne. Lord, Lord, when? Do not think that the Lord does not see and that he is not going to take care of this situation. I don't care what those people have done. And God says you will be, if you would listen, if you would be obedient, you will be so deep in what it is that he has called you into. You will be so deep in your assignment that you wouldn't even think about these people and what they have done, that you would let that thing go, and you would be so enmeshed in your purpose, starting your nonprofit, writing your book, starting your business. You understand what I'm saying? Working on the things that God has given you, working on your ministry, working on your YouTube channel, working on your podcast, whatever it is that God has told you to start. If you would be about your Father's business, if you would be about the work that your Father has told you to put your hands to, if you would put your hands to the plow, you wouldn't even be worried about those people who did you dirty, who did you wrong, because you would understand that God is going to repay, that God is going to get the victory for you. Okay. He's saying if you would just focus on what it is that he has given you in your assignment, you're going to look up one day and find out that these people have, I'm going to say what I feel him saying, slain, that these people have been slain, SLAIN, that these people have been taken up out of here, that these people have, or these people are in such deep regret. These people are coming back to you apologizing. You're going to hear about what has happened to these folks, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that anymore. I have forgot all about Jesus. I have forgot all about that situation. I forgot about what they did to me. That's what happened. Oh my God. And it's not even going to be so much that you're going to be gloating or taking pleasure or joy in what happened to these people. It's going to be a reminder of who God is, and that he is, yes, he is a God of love, but he is a God of war. He is a man of war, and he don't play about his kids. Stop playing with God, okay? God says, do what I told you to do. Work on what I told you to do. The assignment is not done. Don't be worried about these people and what if they're out here acting a fool, carrying on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they've done. I'm God, and I see all that they have done, not only to you, but to others, and I'm going to take care of it. You be about my work. You do what I've told you to do, and you're going to look up and be shocked and surprised. And not only are you going to be shocked and surprised, but you're going to go even harder for what it is that God has told you, because you're going to realize God don't play. Number one, he don't play about me, but he's also, okay, he's also not going to play with me. As much as God loved David, he still chastised David when he needed to. He still took out his vengeance. He still had, David had to reap what he had sowed. Okay. Don't think that just because you're a child of the Most High, that's exactly why you're going to reap what you sow. If you are a child of God and you know the right thing to do, you know what God is telling you that you're supposed to be doing. When he tells you that you are not supposed to be committing adultery, that you are not supposed to be lying, that you are not supposed to be stealing, that you understand what I'm saying? When you are the example, man and woman of God. You are the example. And so when you fall out of alignment with your assignment, God has every right to handle you accordingly. Now I'm going to get off of here because I can't hardly talk anymore. But I hope that you understand what I'm saying. I hope this resonates. That's the word. I got to go.